Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a fascinating source document that maps out what it calls the Pantheon of Generative AI. Now, we're not just looking at some giant, messy directory of every single app ever made. Nope. We're looking at a highly curated, definitive gallery of the true foundational pillars of this entirely new digital world. I'm honestly so excited to guide you through this, to really look at the heavy strategic weight behind these specific names and figure out the actual architecture of this modern AI ecosystem together. So, we're exploring a really specific, super exclusive list from our source today, the foundational entities that are literally shaping the modern AI landscape as we speak. You know, when a source curates a list like this, it's laying down the law on what actually matters. It's cutting through the everyday internet noise and highlighting the core infrastructure. These models are elevated for a reason: their unique technical merits, their massive adoption rates, and the distinct design philosophies that let them basically dictate where the entire industry is heading next. Now, our source deliberately uses the word pantheon. By definition, a pantheon is a group of particularly respected, famous, or important entities. And this isn't just a casual buzzword, it's a structural metaphor. Think of it like a giant building. Each entity we're going to cover is load-bearing. They are the actual architecture holding up the AI ecosystem. If just one of these pillars shifts its strategy, drops a new model, or makes a massive leap in capability, the whole technological landscape shifts right along with it. And the domain these titans govern is, of course, generative artificial intelligence. What makes this specific list so absolutely crucial is that monumental shift from traditional computing, sorting, retrieving, and processing data, to true generation. We're talking about bringing something entirely new into existence. Whether that's synthesizing text, writing functional code, or doing deep structural analysis, that creative spark is the defining characteristic of this era. And our source has mapped out the absolute undisputed drivers of this capability. Okay, let's dive into this. The first pillars. Claude, our source positions Anthropic's model as a massive, echoing presence in this ecosystem, and it does so for some very specific reasons. Claude sets itself apart through its underlying technical architecture, specifically its focus on massive context windows and really nuanced, highly steerable reasoning. So it's not just sitting here because of raw compute power. It's here because of its sheer utility in complex, multi-step analysis, where you really need deep cognitive tracking and precise instruction following. It's a powerhouse. Next up is ChatGPT. This is the definitive standard bearer. By placing ChatGPT right at the foundation, the source material totally acknowledges it as the pioneer. I mean, this is what brought the transformer architecture to the masses, right? It's essentially the baseline of general-purpose generative AI. It acts as the ubiquitous interface, the universal benchmark that literally every other model and capability in this space is constantly being measured and compared against. The expanding roster. An ecosystem this massive just can't be held up by only two foundations. As we dig a little deeper into the document, the roster expands to encompass more forces. The text makes it clear that the generative AI landscape diversified incredibly quickly, pushed forward by totally new capabilities, shifting market strategies, and some very hyper-specialized use cases. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer diversity of that expansion. Gemini, NotebookLM, and DeepSeek. Our source groups these three together to highlight some very distinct vectors of innovation. First, you've got Gemini, which represents this deep, native integration into a massive, already existing tech ecosystem. Then there's NotebookLM. This one is fascinating because it's a hyper-specialized tool. It focuses entirely on grounded, personalized context rather than just broad, general world knowledge. And right alongside them sits DeepSeek, representing the aggressive, highly efficient, open-weight disruptor that's out there actively challenging the economics and compute requirements of the whole industry. It's a wild mix. Then we have Grok. Our source treats Grok as this distinct, standalone force, mostly because of its data pipeline. Because it taps directly into a live, continuous social data stream, Grok brings a totally different kind of generative capability to the table. It's uniquely positioned to prioritize immediate, unfiltered access to real-time, global conversations and breaking information, completely bypassing those static, pre-trained knowledge bases. Copilot. Now, its inclusion here is absolutely essential. Copilot represents the enterprise application layer of generative AI. The source gets that foundational power. Doesn't just live in some standalone chat interface. It lives in the tools millions of us use for work every single day. Copilot acts as this critical bridge, firmly embedding this monumental generative tech right into global enterprise workflows and operating systems. Its place is permanently etched into this elite group. Perplexity. This rounds out the individual forces from our source document.
and it sits at the absolute cutting edge of this list because it fundamentally flips traditional search paradigms on their head. It isn't just a conversational text model, it's a full-blown answer engine. It's designed to synthesize real-time info with direct, verifiable citations. So by putting it on this list, the source is really highlighting the critical industry shift from just generating text that sounds plausible to generating actual, verifiable, research-backed knowledge.
The complete Pantheon. Now that we've looked at the individual pillars and their specific strengths, let's step back for a second and look at the ecosystem as a whole. So, the crucial point is understanding the cumulative takeaway of this combined ecosystem. We aren't just staring at 8 random names here. We're looking at a comprehensive snapshot of the generative AI frontier exactly as the source compiled it. This group spans everything: general consumer chat, enterprise integration, real-time search synthesis, open-weight economic efficiency, and highly personalized context grounding. Altogether, these 8 titans cover every major vector of how artificial intelligence is currently being deployed, integrated, and scaled around the globe. This is the sheer totality of the infrastructure we set out to understand today. We know the Pantheon. The only question remaining is, what will it generate next? These specific entities are the foundational power of creation right now, but their architectures and capabilities are evolving so fast. I want to leave you with that provocative thought. Just imagine how our global digital landscape is going to be shaped by the continuous advancement and the fierce competition between these core pillars. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep questioning what comes next.